SOC 2 is not a security trophy. It is the receipt drawer. If a company says, "Trust us, your data is safe," SOC 2 is one way a customer can answer, "Cool, show me the evidence." That is the whole trick. SOC 2 is an audit and reporting framework for service organizations that handle customer data. Think SaaS companies, cloud providers, managed service providers, data centers, and other vendors that store, process, or transmit data for someone else. It was developed by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, and it is built around something called the Trust Services Criteria. That phrase sounds like it was assembled in a conference room with no windows, but the idea is useful. The criteria ask 5 big trust questions. Is the system protected from unauthorized access? Is the service available when it is supposed to be? Is processing complete, accurate, timely, and authorized? Is confidential data handled properly? And is personal information collected, used, stored, and shared in a way that matches the organization's privacy commitments? Those 5 areas are usually described as security, availability, processing integrity, confidentiality, and privacy. Now, here is where people get tripped up. SOC 2 is often casually called a certification. You will see that wording all over the place, but the more careful term is a SOC 2 report or a SOC 2 attestation report. That matters because this is not a magic badge that says, "This company is secure forever." It is a report about controls. A company defines a system and a scope. It documents policies and procedures. It maps controls to the trust criteria. Then an independent CPA or CPA firm examines the evidence. And the evidence is the part defenders should care about. Not the shiny PDF, not the sales slide. The evidence. Access reviews, authentication controls, network segmentation, vulnerability scans, incident response procedures, backup tests, change management records, encryption, privacy processes, security training, monitoring, and alerts. SOC 2 turns "we have security" into "here are the controls, here is the scope, and here's what an auditor saw." There are 2 report types that are easy to confuse. Type 1 is the snapshot. It looks at whether controls are designed appropriately at a specific point in time. Imagine an auditor walking into a control room, taking one careful photo and saying, "Here is what was in place on this day." Type 2 is the time lapse. It looks at controls over a period of time, commonly months long, often around 6 months to a year. So instead of one photo, the auditor is checking whether the controls kept working. That is why Type 2 usually carries more weight with customers. Point-in-time control design is useful. Ongoing control operation is stronger. But even Type 2 has limits. SOC 2 does not mean every possible security problem is solved. It does not mean every trust services criteria category is always included in every report. And it does not mean a vendor can never be breached. The scope matters. The criteria included matter. The exceptions matter. The time period matters. This is also why SOC 2 is usually not best understood as a law. It is generally voluntary from a legal standpoint. But in the real world, voluntary can still mean you are not getting this enterprise customer until you can show the report. For a lot of vendors, SOC 2 becomes a business requirement because buyers, partners, and vendor risk teams ask for it. So the simple mental model is this. A customer asks, "Can we trust you with our data?" The vendor should not answer with vibes. The vendor builds controls, gathers evidence, and gets an independent report. For defenders, that is the useful lesson. SOC 2 is not about collecting compliance stickers like a laptop at a conference. It is about making security legible. Can you prove who has access? Can you prove backups are tested? Can you prove vulnerabilities are tracked? Can you prove incidents have a process? Can you prove privacy promises are backed by actual controls? And just as important, can you keep proving it after the audit is over? That is the difference between a security trophy and a trust system. A trophy sits on a shelf. A trust system keeps generating evidence. So when someone says, "We are SOC 2 compliant," the smart follow-up is not a clause. It is what type of report, what scope, which criteria, what exceptions, and what changed because of it. That is where SOC 2 becomes useful, not as a finish line, as a way to make security promises testable.